My name is Peter Davison. I played the Fifth Doctor, and you're listening to the Five-ish Fangirls.
The tangents and squeak continue all the way to episode 172 of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast, and we're gonna throw on our dancing shoes and have some fun, sing along, sing and dance, and we may hum a few bars. We cannot be responsible for anything being out of tune. Anyway, welcome everyone to this week's Five-ish Fangirls podcast. So glad you could join us. Let's start off like we do every week. Look on the virtual table and see who's joined us this week.
This is Brittany in Bethlehem.
This is Christy in Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. Oh, I feel like I've been gone for so long.
So, well, we've got quite the show this week. So, first we're going to do the news and some. Chrissy, you want to take the 10 o'clock news? Because unfortunately, I don't know this person.
Okay, yeah, I can do this. It's the 10 o'clock news. If you're a fan of fantasy literature at all, or have been in the past 20, 30 years or so, you may know the name Ursula K. Le Guin. She passed away, sadly, this past weekend at the age of 88, I believe.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes, 88.
She wrote a lot of speculative science fiction. Her most popular series is the Earthsea trilogy. If you probably took college literature, she wrote The Ones Who Walk Away from Amalas. I can never know how to say it. It's the one like there's like it's a beautiful, wonderful utopia, and then they find out that all this pain and suffering gets filtered down into this one child. I'm not telling it very well because it's been so long since I read it, but I had a lot of college professors when they found out that I liked sci-fi and that kind of thing. They're like, oh, you should read Ursula K. Le Guin, and she writes really great sci-fi, and let that inform your work and that kind of a thing. So she's one of the big name authors. Maybe not necessarily one of my absolute favorites, although Earthsea was pretty good. I liked it. She's definitely made her mark on literature and science fiction. So it's just kind of, and she lived to be 88, late 80s. So it's not like this was a sudden tragic thing, but still you lose someone that you enjoyed some of their body of work, and like I said, not my absolute favorite, but she still was a great author and definitely will be missed to see at all. And part of me thinks, and I should have looked this up before I started, part of me thinks like the filmmaker Hayao Miyazaki, Studio Ghibli, at one point they were going to do a movie of the Earthsea novels, but now I don't know if that ever actually happened. But that would definitely be a great thing to happen if it did. Mm. Anyway, so family, friends, and definitely fans.
Mm.
I haven't read any of the books, but I was looking up some of the books, and they're definitely on my to read list.
Mm-hmm.
I just haven't.
Yeah, and it's her stuff is very literary too. So if you like your sci-fi to be really fun, I guess would be the word. I guess Earthsea's pretty fun, but there are other stuffs like I said, I read her stuff in college. And so something that college professors assign, and college professors don't necessarily assign things that are things you would pick up for pleasure reading, at least not most of the time. But still there was some the Earthsea was a treat. times, and I could almost recite it in my head by the time I got to my junior year of college, and was still getting that short story on the syllabus to read. And I'm like, okay, I got to find what else she's written, because it's kind of a depressing story. I kept getting assigned. But like I said, Earthsea was a good one, and quite a lot of fun. I would put it, and a lot of people love Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. I would kind of put it camp of...
Okay.
I mean, okay, so the stories they're not the same, but I don't know, for some reason those two are stuck in my head as they're being associated.
They kind of have that
They
same
kind of have that
feel?
same theme. Yeah, same feel, same theme, like, young people coming into their own powers of whether it's magic or military prowess yeah. I don't know, maybe one was kind of inspired by the other. I could just be talking out of my butt here. But it's that level of had an impact on the genre. Let's say it that way.
Oh, okay.
And people read it and they're like, oh, that was their. People think of it as, oh, that was my first sci-fi or fantasy novel, and that's what got me into reading it and that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Cool. All right.
Anyway.
All right, we're moving on to other news. So, as we mentioned on last week's show, because we recorded the day before the nominations were announced, but we now have the Academy Awards, aka the Oscars, whatever you want to call them, the big kahuna of the film award season in the United States. Nominations are out, and nothing really surprising. Well, I almost say nothing really surprising, but that's almost in a sarcastic tone, because I am disappointed that Wonder Woman got nominated for squat, even in the technical categories.
Yeah, that was a.
But this is Hollywood we're talking about, and you can't. It's taking a long time to teach these old dogs new tricks. So.
Yes.
I feel like maybe like in the last year or so there was a video or a podcast, I don't remember which.
Yeah.
That like why do critics not like why because it used to be the Oscars went to movies that were actually popular, like Casablanca and stuff like that back in ye olden times, as
Mary
it were.
Poppins
and things like that, like things that won a lot of awards. A lot of people why doesn't the Academy like popular movies anymore? And now I can't remember what the reasoning was. Is I guess they get more artsy or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But we've had this conversation many times before.
Yeah. I mean, you have to scroll quite a bit of ways down on the nominations to start seeing films that we've actually discussed. Like John Williams got nominated for Best Score for,
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah,
frustrating.
Well,
I mean,
hoping People's Choice will give Mark Hamill a nod, because I thought he did outstanding.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's all we can really hope for, is things like the People's Choice and like the Kids' Choice Awards on Nickelodeon or something. The kids get it right.
Right.
Give their awards to Robert Downey Jr. For playing Iron Man. It's like,
no kidding.
But yeah, it's just like it's one big butt kissing ceremony. It's pretty much what it is. So we'll be over here going, "Come on, Coco!"
Yes.
It's like the most mainstream category is like best animated feature length and best song. So other than that, it's like, whatever. So, I mean, I've got friends that, I don't want to say they're movie snobs, but I have some friends that they just go and see everything, whether it's, the latest Marvel movie to, The Shape of Water or something, Dunkirk, these things that are getting nominated. But they're just people that really just enjoy going to the movies. So, but yeah, whatever. Congrats to the nominees, I guess.
Yeah.
Let me know when the People's Choice Awards come around.
It kind of feels like the Super Bowl.
It kind of, especially
we
this
don't
year.
care who wins because
No,
they both stink.
pretty much.
Or well, that's not that they stink. We don't like them very much.
Yeah.
And
It's like,
Sorry, Brittany. I mean,
don't-
I'm not terribly pleased with it either. But you're probably even more sore than I am.
Yeah.
as a Giants fan that lives in technically Eagles Nation, I'm not enjoying it. Oh my goodness. That's another subject.
yeah, really.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's like I have no plans on watching the Super Bowl.
Puppy Bowl.
Wait, yeah, really.
That day's my anniversary.
Yeah, the Puppy Bowl.
Yay.
Time to
we're
watch
doing
the Puppy Bowl.
We're doing stuff on Saturday.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So. It'll be kind of like with the Oscars. I'm going to be over here like, come on, Coco. The Super Bowl. And I'll be like, NSYNC reunion during the halftime show? That's what I'm going to be cheering for.
Set the timer.
Yeah, really.
Switch it. Okay, watch and switch back.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Moving on to more exciting things. Speaking of Pixar, we got the full cast list and character descriptions for Incredibles 2, and I love the way they did this because that whole like Google Art app thing that everyone's been doing, they put out all the people that are doing all the voices, but then they did like an artsy rendition of their character, like something you would see hanging at like the Louvre or something. So very
Nice.
relevant to what's going on at the moment. So most of the Incredibles, they're back. Holly Hunter as Elastigirl, Craig T. Nelson as Mr. Incredible, Brad Bird will be back as Edmund Nuggets. Samuel L. Jackson will be back as Frozone. Hopefully he doesn't misplace his super suit again.
All right.
So there's a few new characters. Which has been a long time since I have seen The Incredibles. I need to rewatch it. So
Me too. I'm loving it.
Hopefully Jack Babysitter has gotten
yeah,
read into the club.
yeah,
as it
Yeah,
were.
that would be a good thing.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Incredibles 2 comes out this summer. Make sure you got your super suit. No capes.
Nice. Rule number 1. No
yeah.
capes.
And then something I'm kind of excited about is in celebration of the 25th anniversary of the Power Rangers, the various, I guess, toy companies out there are going to be releasing. They haven't specified if they're all going to be reissues or if some of them may be new or maybe updated or brand new toys or that sort of thing. But the 25th of every month, I'm assuming for the next 25 months, so I guess we're doing a year. We call that a Disney year, where it's more than 12 months. But the 25th of every month on RangerNation.com, they are announcing merchandise or toy release. But the first one, which was last week, is a reissue of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Auto Morphin figures, which I never owned these. Look hideous. As much as
I did.
I know. I'm a huge Power Ranger fan, but the Auto Morphin figures I always just thought they looked wrong just because of how big like the shoulders and the chest are compared to the head.
Yeah. Well, how big the whole thing has to be for the thing
head
to work.
fit. Yeah. So if you don't know what these are, they're a plastic like action figure with posable arms and legs and stuff. But then the head, you've got the person's face without their Power Ranger mask, but then it has a mechanism so that the head will spin and disappear into the chest, and then it'll be their helmet. The head with the helmet. So, and as Brittany said, you'd pinch your fingers when you go to flip the head around in the mechanism. But they had to make the chest so broad to make the head fit that it just looked wrong proportionally.
Looking back, I could see that, but when I was little, I absolutely loved them.
Yeah, I mean,
one of my favorite toys.
Yeah, I remember seeing ads commercials for them on the TV, but I never owned that particular toy.
So they're kind of taking a page out of the Star Wars. Instead of having a Force Friday, you have a Power Rangers 25.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Morphin 25th of the month, I guess.
Yeah. Check your local toy stores, because you never know. That one store might have one thing, one store might have another.
Well, and apparently these have been on the shelves in some places for a couple of months.
Oh, okay.
And they were like kind of quietly released, but not like major, and only a couple of the Rangers. So, with this announcement, does that mean they're going to do the rest of the OG Rangers? Because it's just the Mighty Morphin, the original, very first ones, including the Green Ranger. So, yeah, there were some people that are like, this isn't news. These have been in my Toys R Us for months, and I'm over here like, well, Toys R Us is going out of business in some places, so that doesn't mean much.
All the time. I was really sad about that.
I've got 3 Toys R Us, and for a moment there, I'm like, oh, maybe I can get stuff on super discount, and then somebody's like, no, they'll just ship that stuff to the other store that's not closing. I'm like, dang it.
Yep.
Well, that throws that idea out the window. I was hoping to buy some Power Ranger stuff for cheap, but apparently not. But anyway, but for those of us that grew up with the Power Rangers, nostalgia ahead, I guess.
Still hard to believe 25 years.
No,
Only saying that every time it's mentioned. Just saying.
I know. I totally know.
Okay, so like you guys, like Rachel, you said you never had one of those. I think I might have, or my brother did. And yeah, I look at them like, yeah, they look ridiculous.
A little bit.
But yeah, they're still, I mean, it's still, I don't know. I think, I want to say like Andre, Black Nerd Comedy, I think he's had some things in the past that, he's unboxed stuff or featured some merchandise on his channel, and he's like, yeah, I know it was stupid, but I had it, and it's ridiculous, and it's actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
So it's like all these different, you run the gamut of feelings when you look at all this stuff.
Yeah.
So.
I mean...
And then the so ugly it's cute category too.
Yeah.
Well, it's like
these
when
kind
you look
of
back
are
at your
where
school
it's like
pictures and you see your bangs are teased up to high heaven and you wear the bright pink and neon stuff. You're like, what was I thinking? Well, I was thinking it was the early 90s and my mom was dressing me. That's what I was thinking.
Oh, yeah.
And that was in style back then.
Yes, that looked cool.
It's like back then you fit right in.
Yeah. And you couldn't convince Mom otherwise because she was the one getting you the clothes.
Yeah.
Yep. And I'm sure. I mean, I look at my baby pictures and think, oh my gosh, yeah, it was the 80s. And I'm thinking of, I take baby pictures of my little guy now and thinking, and in 10 years even, we're like, yeah, it was 2017 or 2018, and that's what was in style.
Yeah.
That's what they had. So. It's what we wore.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's it for news. You've still got, as we're recording this, the day and some change. Not quite 2 days to vote for the book club. So
that is correct.
By the time this goes up, you'll have about a day and some change.
Yep. And I will try to get the March book poll up a couple days into February, just so people have time to look, peruse, and vote. So hopefully I remember. So yeah, I know that there's a couple book releases on the forefront. So Doctor Who and the Cricketman came out, so I think I'm going to put that on next month's poll. And then there is the Missy Diaries, but that doesn't come out till February 22nd, so that one's probably going to be in April or May, depending on schedule and voting. So stay tuned.
Yes.
Watch this space or watch the Goodreads page.
Yep.
For
Exactly.
all your friendly updates.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's move on to this week's topic.
And if we break into song, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
can't-
don't know if you guys ever watched Clarissa Explains It All.
Oh, yeah.
But there was an
I
episode,
remember
okay.
that, yep.
There's an episode where they're doing a school musical or a school play. I'm sure it's a musical, and she talks about how musicals aren't true to life because people don't break out into song, and then it fades to a little alternate scene with her parents, and they're singing about the dad's singing about honey, do you have the sports section? Yes, dear, I have the sports section. And then the backup dancers come out and start singing about he wants to read about sports.
Yeah.
The very precursor to Buffy the Vampire Slayer is Once More with Feeling.
Yeah.
Got you beat. Clarissa Explains It All. As you beat.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. So, well, I personally have grown up with musicals, osmosis for the most part, because I grew up in a family of performers. My mom was a dancer when she was younger. My dad sang. And then my mom's mom was a theatrical performer. She did musicals and stuff. So and we did the church pageants, and sang in the kids' choir and that sort of thing. And I was in choir and school, and I earned my my thespian card in high school. So so. Performing is something I've grown up around, so although I don't think there was really one particular either my parents was had on repeat very often. I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
Although my mom does own a copy of Evita on vinyl, so
The pre-Adana Evita.
yes, not the Madonna version. Not at all. So, what about you guys? Before I guess we get into our actual lists?
I had a lot of friends who were into theater. My youngest sister Shalane, she likes theater, although she does more behind the scenes makeup and costuming sort of things. That's what she's studying at college right now. Growing up in the small town I grew up in, there was a local community theater. It was the dinner theater, so we could go and they advertised fairly well. Now that I think about it, in the little tiny town I grew up in, there were a lot of theater people, and the drama department at the school was really strong. And I just like to go see the productions. I really wasn't. I wouldn't call myself a theater nerd, but my parents we'd get tickets to go to whatever play was going on. It was called the Ivy Garden, was the name of the community theater, and we'd get tickets and go to a play. They'd serve dinner. The actors would come out in their costumes and serve us dinner, and they would do it in character.
No,
So I don't.
that's awesome.
So I don't know if you'd ever seen the first one I remember seeing. I was probably 10 or 11. We went to see Little Abner. they did. And so it's like all these hillbillies coming out to serve, serve you roast beef and baked potatoes and salad and all this. And the characters come out and talk to you. And even though I'm like, okay, I know you because, I know you from school, or or you're my friend's parents or something, you just kind of went along with it. And it was just kind of fun the way they did it. And the productions were really good. And so the ones I saw, there was Little Abner, Little Shop of Horrors. I just blanked on another one. Into the Woods I saw there.
Ooh, nice.
It was quite good. Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And there were a bunch of other ones that I'm just blanking on. But those are the ones I can remember the best. And then his mom likes to go to see drama theater productions, and they up until recently they had season tickets to Pioneer Theater up here in Salt Lake. So there's just, I don't know, I've never really been into like super into it. Like I think I was like, had some bit parts in some school plays, but I think just around here in Salt Lake, there's just a lot of people, there's a lot of theater, a lot of drama productions. I don't really know why. It's just sort of maybe other places are that way too. It's just sort of a thing that we have, like all these different theater companies around here. Pioneer Theater, Hale Center, down in St. George's, Tuacahn. It's this outdoor theater that we have the Shakespearean Festival in Cedar City, which is where my sister's going to school. So I don't know. I've grown up around a lot of theater, but I've just never been involved as much myself, but I find it entertaining.
Yeah, I find it entertaining too. I had a few friends when I was in high school who were part of the drama department, so I got to see them in some of the musicals. I mean, I remember How to Succeed in Business Without Even Trying, Sound of Music, Annie Oakley. And then in college, I had a couple of friends who were at the drama department too, and I saw my university's production of Cabaret. And oh my gosh, that was just awesome, considering everything they did. The stage where they had to perform it on was really small, so they had to kind of improvise, and it was just awesome. So that's my experience. And then, well, Mom and my parents too, if not PBS or one of the movie channels was showing something, they'd pop on, whatever musical. I mean, be it Sound of Music, The Music Man, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. My Fair Lady.
Yeah.
I can't honestly pinpoint of how I got into theater and musicals and all that stuff, but same story. I had friends that were in the drama stuff in middle school and high school, and I was always unofficially helping some way or another. So I always, and it was the back behind the scenes, and I always got in to see the musicals for free type things. Mm-hmm. So I was never brave enough, I guess, to be a part of the stage, even though there was times when I kind of wanted to.
Yeah.
But I was too shy. So I just enjoyed watching it. And same thing with me. I try out for some of them, and I wouldn't get it for one reason or another. But I think it was just because I could memorize lines just fine, but the whole acting and being dramatic on stage in front of everybody, that eluded me. I was just I can't be all being in the middle of it and being really.
And then trying not to be too pitchy. That was my...
Yeah. I mean, I think at the time when I tried out, I was like, oh, man, I could have done it. It'd been great. Now that I think about it, I'm like, no, you couldn't.
Yeah.
But you tried, kid.
That's pretty much how I did it. Is I'd constantly audition in high school and would end up, with townsperson number 5 sort of type roles. So just, I thought I was all that in a bag of chips, but turns out I I can't really carry a tune, and I was actually terrible at memorizing lines. So I can dance though, or at least I could. Now that back when I was younger and more in shape, but
I can definitely say I was
that's what I had going for
couldn't
me.
dance.
Yeah. But anyway, so we decided we're gonna do I'm doing air quotes here, top 10. Because we're going to do a Lumangelo top 10.
I'm looking at our list, it's like more like top 20.
Exactly.
It says in no particular order.
Yeah.
Yes.
So our really only, I guess, criteria was it had to be live action. It didn't matter whether it was on the stage or on the screen. It just had to be live action. We'll do animated musicals. That's its own other list.
Mm-hmm.
And 99% of that, I'm sure, will be Disney. But
yeah.
There are
well, and then some of the live action ones would be Disney too, because some of them.
We did make
the animated.
We did make an exception if it was based off of an animated, but not the animated film itself counts in this case. So. But other than that, it was pretty much, if it was a musical, if people sang and danced a good majority of the time, you were good to go. So, and I guess we can just kind of go round robin, I guess. And who wants to go first?
Yeah.
I'll go first.
All right.
Okay, Chrissy.
Just do. Well, like because earlier when I sat down to think, okay, what musicals are like my absolute favorites, and then I sat down and thought of a handful, and then thinking about it here, I'm like, oh, there's more that I like. But I think, well, I gotta highlight The Music Man, and I know Rachel had this on her list as well. But and Rachel, I'll let you talk about your reasoning for The Music Man.
Yeah.
My dad, like, he likes theater to a point. It's kind of an because he's like he'd go to the dinner theater with us, obviously. But I mean, sitting down and watching a musical movie on TV was kind of not his thing, with one exception. And that's the Robert Preston version of The Music Man, and he would and he'd sit down and watch it, and I started sitting down and watching it with him, and I just why, and he'd just love it, and he'd watch it over and over again, put it, record it, and I'm like, Dad, why is this your favorite? And he'd talk about how, in the town he grew up in, he was, his parents were a lot older when he was born, and so he was growing up. He was surrounded by a lot of old timers who talk about the good old days and the things that they do. And The Music Man, at least the movie version of it, there reminded him of kind of those times, like talking to his parents and their friends and different things. And me, I just like the music for it, and it reminds me of sitting down with my dad and I don't know. I just the music's really great. It's not so much the story, because the ending is actually kind of weak if you think about it, because it's supposed to be. Well, the movie, they make it into this big grand spectacle, which is great. But in the play, it's the boys start playing and they're not very good, but the parents are all like, "Hey, that's my son. He's playing and it's great." And the town kind of comes together and it ends.
Yeah.
But it's more, this, about the small town life and how they're kind of stuffy, and it takes this con man who this isn't what he meant to do, to kind of bring him out of that, and do that. And, and of course, you have Marion the librarian. I kind of have to make mention of that. I actually had a patron one time when I was working at the library come up and was singing that song to me when he's coming up to ask a question. It cracked me up. So I'm like, I love that musical. And then, funny story, a couple of years ago, a Pioneer Theater Company was actually doing The Music Man during their season, and they were doing it about the same time as my dad and I share a birthday, and they were doing it during that time, I'm like, hey, this is awesome, Dad, let's get tickets and go. And Dad was like, okay, let's make plans and do it. Well, before we could make plans, this is when Jared and I were first going out and we're trying to decide, like, what are we doing? You know, that whole thing. And he texted me and said, hey, I've got my mom had tickets to the Music Man, but she can't go. Do you want to go with me? And so I was like, sure, that's like my favorite musical ever. And so, you know, that's a sign. For them was fun.
Dad.
Yeah, I was like, Dad, I'm gonna go with Jared instead. I hope you don't mind. And my dad's like, oh right, we're gonna do that. That's okay. You go. Have fun. Forgotten that. So, you know, so I just kind of am like, and I love the Music Man before that anyway. So I just kind of like, I took that as a sign.
Yeah. I think
But
this
it's a fun little musical.
It is. The music is very catchy. There's songs that you've probably heard and not realize that that's where it's from. Like the Beatles did a cover of Till There Was You.
Yep.
You know, and people may not realize that that's not a Beatles original. That's a cover. Yeah, I think this was.
Well, I mean, a lot of people have heard. You know, you got Trouble Right Here in River City.
Yeah,
and that's been
parodied.
A phrase people use, and maybe they don't know that's what the.
Yeah, that's one that's definitely been parodied quite often. But this was one that I think actually was one of my dad's favorites, and we had on probably VHS the film adaptation. And then probably the soundtrack on like either vinyl or cassette. I'm showing my age here. But I just love the music, and I love this is one that I've not seen on stage, unfortunately. I've only ever seen the film version, but I love the film version. I love the cast of the film version. They did cast Robert Preston, who was the original Harold Hill on Broadway. Meredith Hill insisted that Robert Preston play Harold in the film. But you've got Shirley Jones from the Partridge Family, Buddy Hackett, and a adorable little Ron Howard.
Yep.
So, you know, singing about the Wells
Fargo
wagon.
Every time Ron Howard's in the news for something, I'm like, hey, it's like, hey, it's a little kid from the Music Man.
Yeah. Like little Ronnie Howard.
And he looks like an older version of the little kid, but he still looks like him.
Yeah.
Future Opie, future Richard Cunningham, future director of the solo movie.
Yes. So.
Boy, you've come a long way.
Yeah.
Future Scuttle.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just it's a good solid, you know, piece of Americana is what it is. It's just, you know, small town America in Iowa in this case. People, you know, just kind of want to live their life and not, you know, they don't really want any disruptions, yet you still, you know, you've got the mayor who's kind of an idiot, and his wife who's just in the middle of everything. She's got her ladies club, and, you know, you've got the women that, you know, they love to gossip about everyone, and you've got the mayor's daughter who's you know, in love with you know, a kid from the wrong side of the tracks, and so so it's very it could seem very cliched, but at the same time it's just it's a good kind of snapshot of time, you know, middle America in the late 50s, early 60s. So although it's not set in that time frame. It's set in the early 1900s, but you can see that the time period it was, you know, kind of come together. So
Yeah. Gary Conservatory class of
Aught 5.
06.
Yeah.
Aught 5, yeah.
Aught 5. Gary Conservatory wasn't founded until Aught 6.
Yep. I'll agree to everything you just said. Catchy music, the characters are memorable. It's a slice of life.
Yes.
And for that time period, and I think that's what you read about Meredith Willson's thought process as he was writing it. He's basically saying, he's wrote it about his growing up years. The town that he grew up in, and that's what it was about, basically.
Yeah. All right. Who wants to go next?
I guess I can go.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
One of the ones for me is Fiddler on the Roof.
Oh, that's a good one.
Mainly because I think that was when I was in middle school, like the first play my friends did.
Mm-hmm.
And I just fell in love with the story.
Tradition.
Exactly. And the characters were awesome, and we actually had a fiddle that would go down the aisles during, like, the intermission and all that. And then I saw the 70s film, and that's a musical I can watch, like, every day.
And a phenomenal job of the father role by Topol.
Mm-hmm.
A.k.a. Dr. Hans Sarkov from Flash Gordon. Brilliant job as the father of that family.
And once I go on YouTube and just look up the songs, especially I love the wedding scene. That was one of my favorite scene. Actually, that's one. What was I gonna mention? I totally forgot. I honestly don't know why I love it as much as I do. It's one of those musicals that just
nostalgia, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Or is there something that there's something that you might be able to relate to? But I mean, the music suggests it gets you in the feels.
Mm-hmm. That's actually one I've not seen.
Oh, it's good.
I think I saw it. I think the local high school did it when I was in kindergarten, and they came to the elementary school and performed it. I don't remember it. I need to watch it so I can remember.
It's I forgot that John Williams did the music.
Mm. Yeah. Sing us a song.
Yes.
Oh, little man.
He wants to sing and get in on this.
If I was a rich man, I do know that.
Yep.
That's right. I remember the first time I heard when Gwen Stefani had her song. That sounds really familiar. It was bugging me because I wasn't kidding me. And the next time I watched it, people oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I'm pretty sure no one else my age would understand that.
Yeah.
Or the matchmaker, make me a match. Find me a find, catch me a catch. Okay, I'll stop there.
Hey, we said we're going to be, breaking out into songs in here.
Yep.
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 Whether or not it's a good song, well...
Yeah, that's up for debate.
Yeah.
Oh boy, let's see. For me, which one do I want to pick off the list? Well, I think I'm going to go at the bottom of my list, My Fair Lady, with Rex Harrison and Audrey Hepburn. Oh my gosh. I mean, awesome story, great music. I mean, what more can you ask for? lady makes good, housemaid,
Mm-hmm.
gets elocution lessons, and then just kind of winds up wowing the socks off of Harrigan, and
Mm-hmm.
there you go. And of course, I think the rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain. And then I could have danced all night.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Which, that was the show that Julie Andrews was doing on stage when Walt Disney discovered her for Mary Poppins, wasn't it?
It might have been.
I think so. If I'm remembering my history correctly. I don't trust my own memory.
That does sound vaguely
I'm pretty
familiar.
sure that Walt had seen Julie Andrews in a production of My Fair Lady, and he had to convince her to, because she was in the middle of that run, to try to convince her to be Mary Poppins. So, anyway, sorry.
No.
Useless trivia!
This is one I haven't seen. It's one I've always wanted to, because I've always heard amazing things about it, and I just love the story, the little I know.
Yeah.
I need to go find it.
Yeah, a lot of these is like, you know the story, even if you might not have actually seen the play on stage or
the song.
Well, I don't know, songs at least. I mean, you know, I could have danced all night. That's been parodied in, you know, different shows before. And,
Well, and it's so cool to see some of these older musicals have become part of our culture, and then pop culture too, which is very nice.
Well, like I think of Fiddler on the Roof. I know Animaniacs did a parody of that with the Goodfeathers back in the day.
Yeah.
And
they actually, you know, sing their versions of the songs and things like that.
Yeah.
And I was watching some of the of Full House, and one of the episodes they were singing Sunrise Sunset.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. Yep.
Yeah.
So these things, they show up in other shows and other things that are going on. It's all part of the great circle of life.
Yeah. Which that in itself is a musical.
Yes.
Yes, it is. I planned that out, don't you know?
Oh my. Well, let's see. Well, we already talked the Music Man, which was on my list. So I guess my absolute favorite that I've seen on stage, and I've seen it 3 times, twice in 1 year, once, is Spamalot, which is the musical, essentially, adaptation of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So, if you're a Monty Python fan, you're gonna love this. It is hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. The music is just catchy. It makes fun of Broadway musicals and a lot of the tropes that you see. There's a whole song with the Lady in the Lake and Sir Lancelot, I think, talking. It's called what's the name? The actual name of the song is the song that goes like this, and all they talk about is, oh, now we're going to change key, and now I'm singing so loud, and I feel very proud of what we're doing. It's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. So, and this was done, Eric Idle, who's from Monty Python, was the one that came up with this, with the blessing of his other Pythons, and was originally started in the early 2000s. And I don't think there's been a proper, like, Broadway or West End
I
performances
think
recently.
it must have been in the West End, because I think Peter Davison was in
Yes, he did.
Spam-A-Lot.
We'll get to that.
One year he was supposed to go.
It started in Chicago,
or not-
2004,
Yeah,
West
okay.
End, and then it did a North America tour in 2008, and then did a second North American tour in 2009. I saw it in both of those tours. I saw it in 2008, and I saw it twice in the 2009 tour. Twice in the same year.
You are dedicated.
I love this show. It's so good. It's so good. And I have the original cast recording, which the original cast was kind of almost a who's who of at least recognizable names at the time. Tim Curry played King Arthur. Sarah Ramirez, who went on to have a starring role on Grey's Anatomy, was the Lady of the Lake. Hank Azaria played Sir Lancelot. David Hyde Pierce was Sir Robin. And then since then, through various incarnations, the cast has, and in some cases, some of the cast, just like in Monty Python, they have to play multiple roles. I can't remember. I think it was Hank Azaria as Sir Lancelot also had to play the French taunter. So just like on Monty Python, where, if you watch Monty Python and the Holy Grail, they play multiple roles. They would do that in Spam-A-Lot as well. But they have had other notable names play some of these roles. They did a performance of the Hollywood Bowl, and Warwick Davis played Patsy. Alan Tudyk has played Sir Lancelot in one version. Like Chrissy said, Peter Davison played King Arthur at one point. Clay Aiken from American Idol fame played Sir Robin at one point. But this is one of those where it's just, I almost wish that they would try to adapt this for the film, for the movies. But at the same time, I kind of don't want them to, but it's just because it's Monty Python, so it's everything you would expect from Monty Python. There's a lot of the running gags from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. There's the killer rabbits. There's the French taunters. There's throwing cows at King Arthur's men. They're riding horses is a person behind them clapping together two coconuts. I have a set of coconuts still in the package somewhere that I bought along with the program. It's wrapped in cellophane. It's got a Spam-A-Lot sticker on it, and I've got my own set of coconuts. They're somewhere in storage.
Cool. Or at least if they don't adapt it to a movie, at least have somebody record the stage.
Yes.
Performance.
Yeah, because as far as I know, there are not. You can go on YouTube and find bootleg recordings of people's performances. They did do one number at the Tony Awards because it did end up winning a couple of Tonys. So you can find video of that. But other than that, there's not a lot. There's no official video or anything of the stage version. But it's so good. I saw it, they would adapt it depending on the location. So the year that I saw it twice in that second U.S. tour, I saw it once in Bloomington at Indiana University. And then I saw it at Purdue University up in Lafayette. And the bit with the knights that say knee, when they go back the second time and the knights tell them that they're no longer the knights that say knee, we're now the knights that say all. At the end of that, they would, in Bloomington, they would say, we're now the knights that say blah, 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 F Purdue. or after the Boilermakers. And then when we saw them at Purdue, it was, we are the Knights of Sound, now say blah, 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 F the Hoosiers.
Nice.
Oh man.
And I think when I saw them in Indianapolis, just in downtown Indianapolis, I can't remember who it was they made fun of. Probably like the Patriots or something.
Probably
because it's Colts country.
Football,
team. But I mean, I'm a big Monty Python fan. There's other Monty Python jokes in there. There's the fish slapping dance. So
any references to It's Just a Flesh Wound?
Oh yeah. The Black Knight is in there. So, but it's just, at the very least, you can probably go on YouTube and find someone who's uploaded the original cast soundtrack and listen to it. And if you know the story, if you've seen Monty Python and the Holy Grail, you know how the story goes. Listening to the music, and just don't be drinking anything while you're listening.
Or eating anything.
Or eating anything, because you'll either spit out something or choke.
You have been warned.
Yes.
Duly noted.
Yeah, and it's like there's the voice of God, and it's voiced by John Cleese. So.
Of course it is.
So. It's wonderful. I love it. Somebody needs to bring it back or something so I can see it again, because it's so good. It's absolutely one of my favorite shows I've ever seen on stage. I absolutely love it. No, I'm all laughing. Thinking about all the jokes. It's hilarious. Anyway. Who's next?
Let's see. I'll go. Let's see. I'll go next. One that I had on my list was Little Shop of Horrors, and this is
awesome.
This is one that the first time I saw it was at that little small town community theater, and I saw it with my parents. And this is kind of the first time I had the inkling that my dad even liked, musical theater at all. Because, they went and saw it twice, and then my parents saw it, and they're like, oh, we want to take the kids, or, take at least the older kids, because I think they'd love it. And my dad's favorite song was about the dentist song.
Oh, yeah.
He sings about, hurting other small creatures and bashing in the puppies and drowning kittens and everything, and his mother tells him, son, you need to grow up and be a dentist because you love to hurt things. And it's a terrible song, but it's also so funny.
And the film version performed by Steve Martin.
Steve Martin, yeah.
Yes.
Later we rented the movie with Rick Moranis and Steve Martin, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is so funny. And I mean, you think it's a title like Little Shop of Horrors, and I think Alan Menken was
that's Alan Menken.
Did some of the music for it, and like I'd heard of it because he did it, and when Little Mermaid came out and Disney was promoting it, they said, oh yeah, he wrote for Little Shop of Horrors, and he's great, and I was like, that sounds like a really scary show. Yeah. And then I finally saw it when I was older. I'm like, this is so ridiculous, and I love it.
Yep. Yes.
The same guy that brought us Aladdin and Eating Plant.
Man-eating plant named after
Audrey.
Named after the pretty lady who's selling plants and taken care of by the meek little Rick Moranis character, is a kind of this little nerd who just loves Audrey, but he can't say anything because she's dating the jerk dentist that beats her, and they live in.
The dentist does get his comeuppance.
He does indeed. Although you're kind of meant to think, maybe that wasn't such a good idea, Seymour.
Yeah.
Because it just feeds the plant and feeds the plant and feed me, Seymour.
Feed me,
Seymour. All thanks to a total eclipse of the sun.
Down on Skid Row.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Downtown, where the guys had drips. You go downtown,
downtown.
where the relationships. I love Audrey in the movie.
Mhm.
I can't
Oh,
remember
yes.
the name of the lady who plays her, but she's
I
just
can't
so
remember.
sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "Oh, Seymour, you named him after me."
Oh, Mr. Mushnik.
Oh,
Yes,
It's
dear
just-
listeners,
I-
you
it's
can
fun.
tell we've watched
we've
a
watched
couple
this
of times.
just a few times, you know.
times.
I a few years ago when I was living in the house with I had some roommates. I got Little Shop of Horrors for Halloween. Like, I want to watch this for Halloween, and none of my roommates got it. They're like, "This is so dumb." And I'm like, "This is the greatest thing in the world."
Yes. Play your cards, or it'll play Wacky Horror Picture Show next.
Yeah, they really wouldn't have gone for that one.
No. Darn.
But yeah, same sort of thing. Really catchy music. The characters are memorable, and it's just it's fun.
Mhm.
Oh, I stand corrected. It is actually Howard Ashman that was that did the
yeah. Those,
Well, I
those
guess
two
they-
did work together sometimes. So
yeah.
yeah.
So sorry, Alex. hit
There's
the
still
microphone.
people with ties. There's still people that gave us Disney magic.
Mhm.
Also, you know.
Disney magic, Disney happy
Giant-
Disney musicals,
Yeah.
and then there's
Mhm.
one about the plant from outer space that eats people.
And sadistic dentists.
Mhm.
So.
Well, you know, they can have a wide portfolio.
Yeah, it
Of
just goes to
different
show their range.
Yes, but it also of note is directed by Frank Oz,
Yeah.
the lovable Muppeteer who brought us Miss Piggy and Yoda.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's when I just it's fun. I don't know what else to say about it other than it's just a
Yeah.
bunch of laughs.
Mhm.
It's that dark humor
Yes.
Yeah.
that some of us find very entertaining.
Mhm.
And then I guess there are two different endings. There's the theatrical one where, you know, Audrey and Seymour get married and they get their little cute little house with the picket fence. And then there's the one where the plants all take over the world and eat everybody and everything ends in horror. Pick your poison.
What kind of mood are you in tonight?
Yep.
Choose your own
They all live
adventure.
happily ever after, or ends take over the earth.
Or you could go with both, because at the end of the happy ending, just outside the picket fence, there is a little Audrey 2 plant.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. Forgot about that.
Yeah. All right. Next up. I know it's like trying to pick a favorite child, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, somebody go, I just went.
Yeah. Brittany, did you want me to go?
I'll go.
Okay.
Another favorite would be Mary Poppins, and
Oh yeah.
Yes.
and not just like, I don't know, it's a Disney classic, and one that we've all probably watched since we were little kids.
Oh yes.
Yep.
It's just
The nostalgia
just-
runs deep.
I-
with
Great
that
numbers.
one.
Mhm. I've got the chance to see it on Broadway a few years ago,
Oh, cool.
and it was so good. And there's a few changes as you tend to expect, because
Yeah. Well, usually with, and this is, when we were talking about doing this and trying to decide what we were going to include and what not, is a film first and then got adapted to stage, as opposed to the opposite, for some of these, that sometimes they adapt really easily, and then sometimes they don't, because really with a lot of stage musicals, one, the length is longer than a movie. 90 minutes ish, you're looking at 2+ hours for a full-on Broadway style musical, and usually to add to that length they end up adding new music. The dance numbers will sometimes get extended for time, but then usually there's new music that gets added. And I know the stage version of Mary Poppins is like that there are songs in the stage version that don't appear in the Disney film. So, and there's not necessarily anything wrong with that, but it's the medium is different, and it does necessitate making changes.
Yeah.
So, but anyone that can figure out how to make that transition from one way or the other, though, deserves a Tony or an Academy Award, depending on which direction they were going.
Yep.
So, especially something like Mary Poppins, where you've got a lot of fantastical elements to it. That they gotta figure out, how do you make Mary Poppins fly? Although they've been doing Peter Pan for years, and they can make Peter Pan fly on stage. It isn't that big of a stretch, but still, there's some fantastical elements involving Mary Poppins. That
TARDIS-sized carpet bag, for one thing.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Mary Poppins is a Time Lord.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes,
She has to be. The only way to
has proven that theory time and again.
Yeah.
Well, and then the homage that Misty kind of paid.
Yes.
With her outfit, with her introduction. I mean.
Yeah. Very, very true. Anyway, but yeah, I love Mary Poppins. It's an absolute favorite. It's a joy. I love it's one of those where it's like, I love the movie, and I think it's brilliant. Julie Andrews is a dream as Mary Poppins. Dick Van Dyke is hilarious as Bert. But at the same time, it's got a lot of feels.
Oh, yes.
Unlike something like Spam-A-Lot, where, I'm just going to have a barrel of laughs, a laugh a minute. Mary Poppins, I almost have to be in a certain mood to watch it, just because it is sad. It's got some sad moments. I mean, Feed the Birds, just
exactly.
That pops up on my music, and I sometimes have to switch it because I'm like, I don't want to feel that at the moment.
Yeah.
I love the song, but sometimes I have to.
It's like, I gotta fast forward a little bit here.
Yeah. I mean, Feed the Birds is just one of those. It's a heart-wrenching song to begin with, but knowing the history behind it and knowing that was one of Walt's favorites, and hearing, when I got to see Richard Sherman several years ago, on our cruise with Lou, and he tell the story about how he'd be at the studios working on one thing or the other, and Walt would come in and just kind of sit there and not really say anything, and Richard would play it because he knew that's what Walt wanted to hear because it was his favorite song. So, and when they opened Walt Disney World, and Richard was at the opening ceremonies for Walt Disney World, and obviously Walt Disney World opened after Walt had passed. Then he played Feed the Birds for Walt, and he says, he's like, I'm there in the middle of Walt Disney World, and all these people are there, and Walt's brother Roy is there, and he's playing, Walt's favorite song, and kind of hits like the high points, the most emotional part of the song, and like these like doves or whatever just came out of nowhere and came flying over, and it's like, Richard was kind of like, I kind of felt like Walt was saying, yes, I'm here. And it's like, the feels.
It's like who showed up and started chopping onions.
Exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, I love Mary Poppins, but it's emotional.
And I have to admit, there had been a time or two when I've taken a kite out that, yes, I have sung the Let's Go Fly Kite song.
Yeah.
As we all should. At any time it gets windy outside, and I'm like outside walking to my car or something, and I'm kind of look around like oh, did you see that nanny fly by?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll sing either Let's Go Fly a Kite, or it's a blustery day from Winnie the Pooh.
Yep.
Oh yes. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Disney making windy days that much more enjoyable since the 1930s.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, decisions. I think the next one I'm going to do is A Rock of Ages. That started out as a Broadway play with all 80s music, and then a few years ago it got made into a movie with Tom Cruise, Alec Baldwin, and a few others. But, I mean, story of a girl coming to find her way, loses her record collection, and just all this 80s music. What can you say? I mean, it's got Poison, it's got REO Speedwagon, Journey, Don't Stop Believing. Your cornucopia of 80s music.
80s, the musical.
Right. There's some pretty decent 80s music.
Yeah. I don't think I'm familiar with that one. I don't know. It sounds vaguely familiar, but...
Yeah. I'm trying to remember if it was the former lead singer of Whitesnake that did the off-Broadway with a few other people, or the Broadway production. Because I've listened to both soundtracks, and the story really hasn't changed too much. Yeah. But they're both good. I mean, and then in the movie version, Catherine Zeta-Jones doing Pat Benatar's "Hit Me with Your Best Shot." Something to listen to.
Hey, she's not a bad singer and dancer herself.
No, and then it's kind of funny with one of the closing numbers, because they were going to try to close down the bar.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, they do Jefferson Starships, We Built This City. And then they scan the crowd, and you'll see some of the old 80s rockers. And one of them just happens to be Kevin Cronin from REO Speedwagon singing one of the lyrics from We Built This City. So, it's like you got to kind of be on the lookout with people, for people you'll see.
I'm surprised. Like, I've heard of at least the movie. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised I've never watched it, because I'm a big fan of 80s rock.
Yeah, it's been on the movie channels, but if you can find it, I would track down the Blu-ray extended edition of Rock of Ages, because it has a little bit more story to it.
Okay.
I don't think too many additional songs, but I mean it kind of fills out the story a little bit more.
Good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, let's see. I think my next pick would be probably one of my favorite movie musicals. And again, I know it's one of my dad's favorites, is Singing in the Rain with Gene Kelly.
Yeah.
That is one I could watch on repeat and not get sick of it. It's amazing. It's so good. I love Gene Kelly. When you talk about Hollywood musicals of that era and, your leading men, you've got your Fred Astaire's and, guys like that. But give me Gene Kelly any day. He's just absolutely brilliant. And Donald O'Connor is hilarious. And Debbie Reynolds, it was one of her earliest roles. And it's another one of those feel-good musicals. It's set during the era of Hollywood trying to transition from silent movies to talkies. And the Gene Kelly plays a leading man trying to keep his career as the movie studio that he works for. Because in that era, even in real life, I mean, it's kind of a farce on Hollywood of that era, but there's a ring of truth to it. Back then, stars signed with specific studios. A day where, we'll see someone do a film for Fox and then Disney and then, some independent, something or other. Back then, leading men and women, they signed with MGM, and that's who they made movies with. Every now and then they would loan them out to another studio, but you were essentially property of a studio. But the studio that Gene Kelly's character works for, Don Lockwood, is trying to transition to talkies, and they're struggling with the their struggles with the technology. But the bigger issue is Don Lockwood's leading lady, Lena Lamont, sounds awful. Take Fran Drescher in The Nanny, just that nasal, squeaky voice, and she can't speak very well. She uses, she's like, her grammar is really bad. But before, it was silent. They talked, when filming, but the voices were, they just played a music track and then put slides up on the screen with what they were saying. So they're trying to figure out how to salvage, essentially their two golden, leading stars, the people that people run to the movie theaters to see their pictures, and how to make it work when Lena sounds so awful. Donald O'Connor plays Gene Kelly's best friend. He's a musician and a writer, and he just happens to cross paths with Debbie Reynolds' character Kathy, and they sparks fly, even though their relationship doesn't start out on the right foot. But of course, it being a Hollywood musical, the guy gets the girl in the end and keeps his career and that sort of thing. But even if you've never seen the movie, pretty much anyone will recognize the Singing in the Rain.
Oh yes,
music bit where he's dancing out in the streets, with his umbrella, just hoofing it in giant puddles of water, and the iconic pose of him on the lamppost.
One of the grocery stores in my town, if you're walking by the produce aisle, they have their things set up to kind of water their vegetables that they're selling, their produce. You'll hear this crack of thunder, and then you'll hear the do 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 do.
Yes.
I was like, okay.
Yeah. So there's some great music and dance numbers. There's the Broadway medley bit is this the whole extended song and dance number that runs way longer than what you'd expect for musicals, where it's like the length of a song plus some time for some dance. But this is like a 10-minute. I don't know if it's that long, but it's an extended song and dance number with just, and the colors are just the costumes and the colors, and Gene Kelly is not hard on the eyes at all.
Nope.
So, but it's an absolute favorite. I love it, and like I said, it's one I can have on repeat and not get sick of it, just because it's so good. So, pretty much anything Gene Kelly has done, actually, but. But that's kind of the big one. That and American in Paris. But I lean more towards Singing in the Rain now. So. All right. Who's got something else?
I'll go next. So another one I put down on my list is Brigadoon. Well, I was a bit part in the production of this. We did it in 7th grade. We did this one, and I don't know if it's really gotten a lot of mention in pop culture. Maybe it has. I just haven't been paying attention. I know there's a movie version of it. I'm trying to see.
I'm going to admit this is the first time I've actually thought of it.
Okay. Well,
I've heard of this one. Yeah,
it's these two New Yorkers in modern day, which would be like the 50s, because that's when this was written. They're on a hunting trip in Scotland, and all of a sudden, like this village shows up out of nowhere, and it turns out that this village comes like it appears like once every 100 years, and so like they go to sleep and they wake up and 100 years has passed in the outside world. So in reality, in Brigadoon, that's the name of the village, they think it's like the 1700s when it's really the 1900s. And so it's like, this village is going on, and these two guys just sort of show up and like, oh, hey, what's going on? And it explains that this Mr. Forsyth, who is the preacher in the village, prayed to have this miracle happen where because he was afraid that the world was getting too terrible, and this was a way to keep the villagers safe, although he had to leave the village forever, and if anyone from the village leaves, then everyone dies. It's kind of morbid, but it's also really sweet because the day this takes place, there's a couple that's getting married, and the guy who's getting married, he almost missed the miracle is what they call it, because he was away at school, and so but Mr. Forsyth postponed it for a little while to let him come back. But his rival's really upset because he wanted to go to school and see the world, but now he can't because if he does, then everything breaks, sort of thing. But anyway, but one of the guys from New York, Tommy, falls in love with Fiona. So it's kind of Scottish time travel romance before Outlander was a thing. Yeah, but everyone's very, very Scottish. I mean, there's a joke in there about the father of the bride tells her, like, you can buy whatever you want, but don't spend too much money. So about the joke about Scottish Highlanders being kind of cheap.
Well,
I can remember my high school put on the performance of this. I want to say either my sophomore or junior year of high school, and I can remember the kids trying to go around like crazy to find tartans.
Yeah, that was the thing, is like, you have to find plaid, and it was kind of difficult to find, although my mom had some stuff in the closet that I ended up using. And I just remember that there were a lot more girls that joined the production than boys. So during the scene where the song "Go Home to Bonnie Jean," Charlie, it's sort of his bachelor party, but all the girls had to sing and dance in the part because there weren't enough guys that were in the play. But that was kind of fun. So, I mean, it's sort of a supernatural thing, and they're trying. The townspeople try to keep their secret from Tommy and Jeff. But Tommy's just like, because Tommy's actually engaged to someone back home, but he doesn't really want to marry her. Just cold feet sort of a thing. So it's a cute story. There's one guy who tries to ruin things and tries to leave town, and they have to chase after him before he breaks the spell. But if you ever get a chance in it, that I'm like, oh, I love this one, and I actually haven't seen it in a long time, but I want to watch it again now, because I can remember I had like one line in the song, and I would practice it over and over because I was like, this is my one time. And about they're all going to the market and it's opening, and it's when the village first shows up, and the two guys are like, what is this place? What's going on? But so, and in the end, Tommy does end up going back. Like they leave, and they think they're gone forever. And in the movie, they actually go back to New York, and he can't stand it, and he goes back to Scotland, and the village is gone. But then it sort of reappears for a minute, long enough for him to go back to town, and he marries Fiona, and marries the girl, and it's a happy ending, but sad because also he leaves his best friend behind, but he kind of doesn't care.
Yeah.
I feel like I've either read or seen a plot similar to that.
There are a lot of folk tales about villages disappearing and reappearing like that. So the author of the musical said that he didn't pick it, or he didn't base it on any one thing, but it's just, there's so many different legends and folk tales about that kind of thing out there that you really can't say that he based it on just one, because there's one it cites one from there's a story like that from Germany, and there's one from it doesn't have a list. I'm just looking at the Wikipedia page. Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of a popular trope in folklore. Mm-hmm. Is especially in places like Scotland, where they have the myths on the moors, and how creepy things can, well, maybe not creepy, but mysterious, I suppose, sort of thing like that. But it's a fun one, and there's a lot of Scottish singing and dancing and leaping, and it's a very happy sort of thing, because the villagers, they see this is a good thing because they're kept safe from the outside world, and and they're happy in their village, and they love being there. There's just the one guy, Harry Beaton, who's like, oh, I didn't get to go to school, I didn't get to go do these things, and why does Charlie get to? He's got the good life. So I guess if there's conflict, that's where part of it comes from, is that Harry wants to run off and break the spell and basically kill everybody, or And they don't want that, so there's sort of some drama there. But then also Tommy is trying to decide, does he want to stay in Brigadoon or does he want to go back home? Because he's never going to see anybody he knows ever again if he stays, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a charming little story.
Mm-hmm.
I quite like it.
And that's another Gene Kelly film.
Yes.
Yes. A bit more obscure, but
yeah.
it is
I mean,
Gene
like I
Kelly
said,
film.
not a lot of people, or it's not in pop culture quite as much as some of these others.
Yeah.
Like I said, the only reason I know of it is because I was in it.
Yeah.
It was a school play.
That counts.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it was on Broadway and different things. It's just.
Next.
Next one on mine. I'm gonna go with Rent.
Ooh, good pick.
That one's one my dad actually got me interested in. Like, he went to see the film version in theaters, and he came back and was telling me about it. Got me intrigued.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to go see it. And I guess for people who don't know, it's just like, it's a story about a few bohemian
Artistes.
Yeah, artists. Living in New York City around like the turn of the century, like 90s.
Yeah.
And just dealing with.
That was one that was really popular when I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really praised because of it for its character portrayal of people that are, I guess, on the fringe. You know, it's not
Yes.
you've got people suffering from things like AIDS and HIV and
Exactly.
transgender and people LGBTQ, that sort of thing. So it was I hate to use the term alternative lifestyle because, anything could be considered an alternative to somebody else, but at the time,
Right.
it would have been considered people that were living an alternative lifestyle. I'm using air quotes here. So that's one of the reasons why it was lauded so much when it first became the smash that it is. So
Yeah, I never seen though I do know like pretty much almost the entire film cast,
yeah,
at least the main characters.
yeah,
Well, part of the original Broadway
cast, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I also have like the screenplay, the stage play book.
Yeah. And it's another one of those where you may not have seen it, but I think pretty much everyone.
Yes.
So. Everyone knows exactly how many minutes are in a year.
Yes.
Thanks to that song.
Mhm.
Yeah. No need for a calculator.
Nope.
No.
And it's one of the ones that is being treated to the live on Fox, I think. Next year, I think. Yeah, next year.
Is it?
Yeah, it's like, and I'm feeling like really like, those have been very hit or miss.
Yes.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Fox has done, and hasn't NBC done?
I think so.
Few.
Because I think they did Pan. I can't remember. One of the two did Pan. Or
Yeah.
Hook. It was, and then I can't remember if one of them redid Sound of Music with a different cast. I could be wrong.
Yeah, one of them did The Sound of Music. That was the one with Carrie Underwood.
Mhm.
Weird.
I didn't watch that one.
Yeah. And then there was the live version of The Wiz, which was
Mhm.
much better than the film adaptation. I will give it that.
Mhm.
Then there's been the live version of Fox.
I think yeah.
And then Hairspray
Mhm.
has been done. So, which Hairspray is on my list.
Yeah, that's the thing they've been doing lately, and like I said, it's hit or miss. And
Yeah. It's just because, musicals are not like a thing. Back in the day, we had like variety shows that would have like song and dance numbers. And we don't have that on TV anymore. And not everyone has access to be able to go to New York City or to Chicago or to the West End to see some of these productions. And even if it's a production that maybe is on tour, it's still maybe not necessarily come to your city. So they're doing these TV, live productions to kind of give the masses at least some exposure to some of these musicals. So, which I can't blame them for that.
No.
I live in Indianapolis, and it's a decent sized city, and yeah, we do get some of the major touring productions. I've seen Cats and Phantom, and West Side Story here. So, I've seen some of the big ones when you think of, really well-known, musicals, stage musicals. But again, you're kind of stuck waiting till either, your local high school decides to put on a production, and they're not going to have the budget that obviously the big productions will have, or you're stuck waiting till your favorite musical comes to town, and they might not. So.
Yeah. Although, I mean, don't get me. I do want to say, don't immediately dismiss, the high school productions or the local community productions either, because sometimes they might have a low budget, or they're getting costumes out of their closets, but they still do a good job. I mean, it's obviously not Broadway level, but it's it just feels like support the efforts of the people in your local area that do these things, because they do work hard and put out a lot of good stuff too. And it's you think about, the more I think about it, the more because just how the tiny little town that I grew up in, and now I'm thinking like, wow, they probably had no business doing a dinner theater like that, but they did it. And as far as I know, I think it's still going on, even though, I mean, I don't live there anymore, but my sister does. And last I heard, they went to see something. So, I mean, it's still going on, and so that's where a lot of people get their start, or it's just it's a good thing for the community to have too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So if there's a local production of The Music Man or whatever going on, go see it.
Oh yeah. I mean, you never know that that high school production may have the next Nathan Lane or Matthew Broderick. In their
well, ensemble, I know of at least one girl I grew up with who was way into theater, and I think she's actually doing stuff on Broadway now. I mean, I've kind of lost touch with her, but last I heard, she was in a few Broadway plays. Nice. Probably not a big name yet, but she's doing something.
Yeah. Absolutely. Anyway, tangent. Sorry.
Well, we're talking about musicals. I just put that plug in there.
Yeah.
Okay, next pick for me is Into the Woods. And the funny thing is, I had stumbled across the stage version being aired on PBS one night when I was younger, and instantly falling in love with Bernadette Peters' character telling the story of Into the Woods, and then kind of lost track of it. And then when I found out they were doing the movie version of Into the Woods, I was like, is this the same one I'm thinking? And it was. I mean, just awesome, kind of fractured fairy tale type story set to music. I mean, everything's interwoven with all the characters.
I've started watching the movie and then like something happened and I had to stop and it's unfortunately never got back to it. So I need to watch the rest of it because I was enjoying what I was seeing.
I mean, there's a couple of sad, feely scenes, but I mean, still very good, very good story.
Yeah, that's the film adaptation they just did in the last couple of years. That was the one with like the who's who of Hollywood, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Pretty
like
much,
Emily
yeah.
Blunt
like Meryl
and
Streep, James Corden,
Anna Kendrick, and folks like that.
Chris Pine was in it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny Depp was the wolf, wasn't he?
Yes, I was like to say.
Okay.
I know Johnny Depp was in there. I was just trying to picture who he was.
Yeah.
I know he was in there.
Of course. All right. I already meant. Well, like I said, I have Hairspray on my list, so that's a really good one. Well, the last one I have on my list that I haven't mentioned yet, but it has been mentioned, is Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yes,
That's a good one.
Which, if you have not done a midnight showing
yes,
at your local, like, hole in the wall, either movie theater or just a local theater, get people together where you've got the ability to project the film up on a screen with a group of fellow fans, you've not lived until you've done a midnight showing of the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
And on a Halloween night to boot.
Yes.
When I was in Florida, we used to do a haunted house in October, and we would go all dressed out in all costumes.
Oh,
and went to go see it. It was so much fun.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, and it's even more fun if you take someone who has no idea what's going to happen.
Oh yes.
And I don't want to spoil it for any of our listeners that don't know, and don't go Googling it because you'll ruin all the fun. But let's just say, yeah, it's a musical. Obviously, if you've ever seen the movie, Tim Curry, amazing.
Yes.
But going and seeing it at midnight with a group of fans, experience. And be prepared to sing and dance and quote the movie correctly.
Yep.
Otherwise, if you let it be known that you're a noob, you will get the noob experience.
Yes.
Nothing really bad, but there's an initiation.
Yes, there is.
But it's, there's props involved and things that you do along with the movie to help make it a more immersive experience, and it's fabulous. It is so much fun, for something that was the movie when it was originally made was not that successful. And has developed this cult following to the point. I mean, there's a lot of movies that have cult followings, but the fact that it's, evolved into this, group fandom experience is taking it to a whole other level, and it's fabulous. It's absolutely fabulous. So I keep, every Halloween, we start getting in that time of year, I keep my eyes peeled on Facebook and stuff for anyone that may be doing a midnight showing, and it's not. I did one years ago, and I've not been able to find one local since, and it makes me sad because it's so much fun.
Want to see it?
Yeah, I mean it's one of those movies that's always on rotation come Halloween. I mean, it's not necessarily a Halloween movie, but it fits so well with that time of year.
Yes, it does.
I mean, young Susan Sarandon, you got a young Meatloaf playing the Frankenstein type character.
Yeah. Eddie!
Eddie.
So, yeah. Rocky Horror Picture Show is fabulous, but it's even more fun if you can find the immersive experience. So,
yes, the group participation is a must.
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And go in costume. I mean, and go all out, whether it's, your best, time warp, dance along outfit, or, I mean, if you want to go full on Frankenfurter with the fishnets and the bustier and on the fabulous red lipstick, go right on ahead. You will fit right in. That is a cosplayer's dream. So.
Yes, because Anthony Stewart had even had his turn as Frankenfurter
yeah,
many moons ago.
Again, another one that they did. Well, it wasn't live, but it had been adapted for TV, and it wasn't quite as good.
No,
it was definitely, they tried, but it was like not quite. It was great to see Tim Curry come back as like the narrator.
Right.
Type,
because that was the remake one. Did that have Adam Lambert in it too?
Yes, I believe so. He played Eddie, I think. Yeah. That was a couple of years ago. Last year? Like early last year, I think.
Yeah, I think it was early last year.
Yeah. So, I watched it just for the sheer, like, because I loved the songs. The acting was a bit...
to be desired.
Yeah, the casting wasn't ideal, and so their performance wasn't quite. But with such a cult following, that's a lot to live up to. Tim Curry and Susan Sarandon and Meatloaf. So.
Well, and Tim Curry.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
Those are some big fish nets to fill. So.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. No. No. Well, that was it for my list. I mean, we've been at it for quite a while, and I'm pretty sure we've done more than 10. But are there any more that you like are absolutely like? I mention.
I think
X.
I'm good because I put some of my other ones into honorable mentions that we can just toss, into the show notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the sake of time.
Yeah, I think maybe we ought to address the biggie that everybody's probably screaming at us, saying, "Why haven't you mentioned Hamilton?"
Sorry.
Yeah.
We saved the best for last. Sorry, guys. Like 3 of us had it on our list, but
I tried. I listened to it. I couldn't.
Okay.
I couldn't get on the Hamilton train. I'm sorry, people.
No.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Not everything is going to be to everybody's liking. You can't. I'm not going to fault you for that.
Yeah.
No.
But I at first when I heard, like I'd seen people like on Tumblr and stuff say, "Oh, Hamilton," and like, what's this? Sudden interest in the founding fathers or whatever in history. What's going on? Then I found out what it was, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like this. But
I kind of heard too. It's kind of a modern twist, modern, traditional musical numbers with some rap. I'm like, and then as soon as I heard the first couple of songs, I kind of got hooked. It's like, okay, I'm liking the rhythm and that, and it's just, I went, and the story just kind of pulled me in.
Yeah, and I went ahead and listened to but read the great big Hamilton biography that inspired the whole thing, and I'm like, yeah, you guys pretty much got all the historical, you hit all the historical beats. No pun intended, but you got your facts right within the music and the dancing and all of that stuff. And so I think that's what impresses me the most about it is that it's kind of a spectacle and I don't want to use the word fad, but it's the only one I can think of right now. It's a big thing. But at the same time, it kind of works. It's something it teaches history, and I love history. In fact, Right now, I was listening to an audiobook called Alex and Eliza. It was about Alexander Hamilton and Eliza Schuyler.
Yeah, I've heard about that. How is
It's not very good.
it?
But
Stick
I'm
with
gonna
Hamilton.
write it. I have a big review. I'm gonna put up on Goodreads when I get the time. The facts are not very good, and it's not told very well. And I'm just kind of like, yeah, this was written purely to get on the Hamilton hype train. And it just wasn't told very well. I said this in kind of my rough draft that I'm going to post, but it says like, okay, the Hamilton musical with its rap and modern colloquialisms helping to tell the story is actually more historically accurate than this historical fiction book.
So take it as Lin-Manuel did his homework.
Yes, he did. So I give him full props for that. And Hamilton is one. I think it's actually scheduled to come to Salt Lake on tour. I have no illusions that I'm going to get tickets. I'm certain they're probably going to be sold out the minute they go on sale, if they haven't gone on sale already. And even if I do get in there, it's going to be insane music. And
At least somebody out there who's doing, if they're doing another cast recording or something, somebody set up some cameras and with the original cast, film them doing this and then putting it out for us.
Yeah,
fans who can't.
Or maybe have that be one of the live ones they do on TV.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm sure somebody is itching to have that.
Yeah.
Disney, you work with Lynn. Come on.
Yeah, really.
You can work something out.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's like something
busy,
about the length of time or something.
Yeah. We won't.
Sorry,
fault
wishful
them.
thinking.
Yeah. I'm sure it'll happen eventually. It's just Lin-Manuel Miranda's schedule.
That is true.
Yeah.
He's been doing. He's quite the busy little beaver.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not complaining. He does good work.
Yes, he does.
Yeah. Good work if you can get it, and he's got it. So.
Yeah. So anyway, I had to throw that out there before we closed up, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
definitely.
I'm sure somebody somewhere is like, what about?
So
there's obviously there's your real big ones that everyone thinks of. Like I said, I mentioned earlier. Now I've seen Phantom. It was good. I've seen Cats. It was good. I've yet to see a live production of Les Mis. I love the music of Les Mis, but I've never seen it, and I actually haven't seen the film adaptation either.
The film is hit and miss.
Yeah. So yeah, there's your big ones out there that when you think of, Broadway musicals, it's like, what about blah?
Yeah. So I'm sure our listeners have their favorites. So if you do that we did, and you have favorites that we didn't mention, or even ones that are a little more obscure that you like and would like to give a little more exposure, let us know. Send us feedback. Our email address is 5ishfangirls, which is the5ishfangirls.com, and we have all of our social media links there that you can find us. You can also find us on Patreon if you want to help support the show. Also, we have our Amazon store. You can shop through there, and again, that's a link on our website. But also, you can leave us comments on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube and all those great places. So find us, if you will, and let us know what your favorite musicals are, or just give us, give us your thoughts on even ones that we mentioned here.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, we could go on and on about, what about blank?
Yeah. Yeah, if it wasn't for the fact that it's after 10 o'clock at night and I really need to go to bed, I would probably be turning on the Spam-A-Lot soundtrack. So.
All right, well, we better let Rachel get to bed, and I've got to go finish doing dinner.
Yeah.
So
tomorrow Maybe I'll have that playing in the background while I'm at work.
Tomorrow.
There's another one.
Tomorrow. I don't know. I better not sing because then YouTube will.
Yeah.
If as long as it's not more than like if it's a couple seconds, you're fine.
So we're good.
Yeah. And there's no music, so for it to really pick
true.
out.
And no one could mistake my singing for a real thing.
Yeah.
I do okay, but not Broadway level okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Well, with that, I guess we shall sign off. With that, I think we'll take a company bow for this week. Time for your curtain call, everybody.
This is Brittany and Bethlehem bowing out for the night.
This is Chrissy saying goodnight and bowing out from Salt Lake City.
This is Alive in Wisconsin saying good evening and bowing out.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. You have been listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. Any and all movies, books, games, and other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by the respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied.